Welcome, luxury enthusiasts, to the Luxury Travelers Podcast, hosted by Rodney George. The ultimate passport to opulent destinations, extravagant experiences, and unparalleled indulgence. Whether one is a seasoned jet setter or daydreaming of the next lavish getaway, the Luxury Travelers Podcast has it all covered. So buckle up and prepare for a journey into the lap of luxury. Now, your host.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time you happen to finally gotten around to watching this podcast. I am thrilled today to be with my friend Alex Sharpe, who's been a leader in the travel industry for almost 30 years. He's currently the CEO of Signature Travel Network, and we're going to talk about what that means to you as a luxury traveler here for the next 30 minutes or so. But first, let's say good morning, Alex. How are you?
I'm great, Rodney. How are you?
Doing great. A little jet lag, but that's the nature of our business, right?
It is. We can't complain about that. We get to go to these great places all around the world. You know, who needs sleep?
Yeah.
Who needs sleep?
Yeah. I used to have a friend here who would say, he goes, you can sleep when you're dead.
Exactly.
Tell our listeners exactly what Signature is and how they rank in the world of travel.
Yeah, sure. So Signature is, we're cooperative. We started 68 years ago out in California as a little buying group, really. Individually owned travel agencies came into the group. They're shareholders of the group. And from the center, the job of Signature was to serve them. The three areas we focus on are marketing, technology, and training. But really and truly, the way we do that is and the strength we give them is we aggregate their business and negotiate great deals and opportunities with the supplier partners, which then the end result is we can then deliver better marketing, better training, better technology back to those agencies.
So Signature's member owned, right?
We are, which is really the difference, I think, for us and others, because we're really squarely focused on what the travel advisor needs, right? How do we serve them best rather than how do we build a brand or do something different?
How many travel advisors are you currently that are members or quasi-members or however you guys look at it?
Yeah, so 200 agencies, but 15,000 travel advisors.
That's a lot of travel being booked through Signature, and
It is. This year we'll book about 1.7 million guests on vacation. So if you put that number into perspective, it's not a whole lot in the overall scheme of the world, right? But 1.7 million guests, and I always think about, when you think about each individual, what are they going through? Some of them just want to go lay on the beach for a couple of days. Others, maybe they just rang the bell for cancer, or they're, being cancer free, or maybe it's someone getting married, or a honeymoon, or a baby moon, or whatever it is. So there's so many different things. I think about the impact that our advisors have on those people's lives, and it's pretty remarkable.
Well, that many people traveling, that's got to be into the billions and billions of dollars in bookings and sales.
Well, we'll do almost $12 billion in sales, and that includes a lot of air tickets and some corporate stuff in there. But when you focus on it, cruise and tour, it's $4 or $5 billion in travel sales, which is really remarkable.
On the playing field, how many different vendors or suppliers does that equate to?
Big picture, just over 1,400. Now, about 1,300 are hotel and resorts around the world. We've hand-selected the best luxury hotel and resorts around the world and made them part of our collection and negotiated benefits for our members and their customers. But then there's 35 cruise lines and 40 tour operators, and then we have a DMC in 90 different countries. So, it's really about kind of covering the world so that we're ready and we can book anything and then help, should something go sideways while someone's trapped.
And therein lies the magic, I think, of Signature, that when you go to the bargaining table, you're bargaining with these 1,400 vendors, but you're bargaining on behalf of how many travel advisors did you say? 15,000?
15,000.
Wow. So some strength in numbers there.
There is. There's no doubt. And I would say, while our production is fantastic, I think we're the biggest, kind of pound for pound, the champion. In terms of total numbers, we're not the biggest, but we are certainly, I think, the most valuable. And that's where we really try and position ourselves with the partners as being their most valuable partner, and making sure that our production, is even greater than the number of agencies and travel advisors that we have.
Yeah, one of our agents emailed me yesterday. She goes, I'm starting to get a hold of this signature thing and what it means to my clients. I said, tell me more. She said, well, some clients walked in the office. They'd been online. They booked a cruise with one of the luxury brands, and they came in to see if they had made a mistake and see if they could turn it over to me and whatever. And so she said, we were able to claim the booking, add $800 of shipboard credit, and a limousine in any of several of the ports of call they were in for the entire day to do private sightseeing. So they became believers yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, the value is throughout from contemporary to luxury, but at the luxury end, you think about it, right? These are brands that they don't have the same brand presence that a Carnival Cruise Line would have or something like that. Obviously, the price tags are bigger, so there's more margins in there. And what they've done is they've, we're producing more than they can even produce themselves. Our organization, in some cases, more than their total direct business. So they're giving us a lot of perks, and they also know that they're confident that our advisors are going to deliver the right customer to the product. Now, there's a lot of people that would say every customer is the right customer. I want them all. But the fact of the matter is they want the right customer who's going to enjoy that product, going to come back time and time again. And travel advisors do that better than, calling into a call center in, could be international, could be in Timbuktu, could be, in middle America somewhere, and someone saying who's never been on a cruise saying, yeah, this is exactly what you want, right? And travel advisors just have a different level of understanding, knowledge of the customer. They ask the right questions so that I know you do it every day. It's how do I get the right customer doing the right, on the right cruise ship or doing, the right destination, whatever it is.
No one looks good in a baggy pair of blue jeans, right?
You are right.
Hey, you love to talk about impact travel. Tell us a little bit about impact travel.
Yeah. I go back to 1.7 million people. And let's be honest, we're sending some of the world's wealthiest people to some of the poorest places. Now, is there a way to have impact travel if you're laying on the beach in Dominican Republic? Yeah. But, I think about it primarily as some of the more far-flung destinations. And I just got back from Africa this week. And, I always say people go for the animals, they come back for the people. And I think when you think about impact travel, it starts with how do you immerse yourself in the destination? How do you get to know what these folks are all about? And, it's cultural, it's personal. We had a group of, I had some advisors there, some agency owners there, and we had this group come in and perform for us the first night. And that our tour operator put together. And it's this beautiful group of young people. And the lady who was in charge of it had kind of pulled people off the streets, right? Save them, right? You see it here, you see it everywhere. And they said, I went to say hello before they started, and the lady was in the back and she was crying. And I said, oh my gosh, and I'm a guy, so I don't really get the whole crying thing well. I don't react well, right? I just want to fix everything immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
And I said, why are you crying? And she says, well, she was explaining where they live, right? They live basically in a slum and these matchbox houses, and one had caught fire the night before, and she had lost one of her dancers in a fire. Tragic.
Oh.
I said, why are you here? You don't need to be here. You can go. And she said, Alex, we get our joy from singing and dancing. This is the way we'll mourn our loss. This is the way we'll do this. And it was the most beautiful presentation I've ever seen, right? Because it was from the heart. And to say we understood what they were all about at a deeper level was, it was evident, right? And so, we went on safari and we saw the big five, and we saw them hunting, and we saw them mating, and we saw them eating, and all these different things. But all anyone can talk about was that performance the first night, right? How that made them feel. And so I'm of the opinion that if we can incorporate more of this into what people are doing, right, when they're on safari or in Southeast Asia or even heck in Mexico, right, and find some way to connect them with the locals so that they can understand it better, there's an opportunity. We employed that group that night, so they made money. But how many people then wanted to understand their story, wanted to understand what they were doing and how they were doing it so that they could help. So I'm just a firm believer that if we do more than scratch the surface, if we dig in, show people how they can impact communities when they travel, get them to understand those people, there's a huge benefit both in the way people travel, the way they understand folks, but then from a travel advisor perspective, you telling me they're not going to be more loyal to you, not going to come back more often, not going to want to travel more often, right? I mean, there's a good reason for everyone to do it, and I just think it makes a lot of sense.
Well, and you're absolutely spot on. People do go for the animals, but they go back for the people. It's just the sweetest people, and they would have done that show probably even if you weren't paying them. That's just how much they enjoy their life and they enjoy being appreciated. Actually, I was looking at some numbers the other day in our agency. Europe is almost always year in, year out our number one destination, usually followed by whatever's trending at the time. But it's almost always either Africa, and now Antarctica is coming on strong in that realm of where people going. And I think a lot of it is because people want to check that box for the seventh continent.
Oh, there's no doubt. I think, we were locked up in COVID and people wanted to break the heck out, right? And we're better to do it than, the great outdoors. So when people tell me my customers want to go to Africa and be on safari, my customers want to go to Antarctica or the Arctic and explore that seventh continent. Well, yeah, because look, there were times, it doesn't matter how you experienced COVID. There were times where we felt restricted. There were times when we weren't quite sure what the future was going to look like. So now's the time. I'm always encouraged after, I don't care if it was 9/11 or the war, anything like that, COVID, travel comes back stronger because it's not, they used to think of luxury travel as a luxury good. You were going to go on a cruise or you were going to buy a really expensive handbag or a nice pair of shoes or a car. They're not the same. People value them much, much differently. Luxury travel is a must have. Luxury goods are nice to have.
Yeah.
And I think even, this materialistic society that many people believe we're in, they make that distinction very, very easily now. And so the idea to get to Antarctica, to get to some of these places that weren't really accessible before and weren't accessible in the quality in which you can go there now. I mean, you go to Antarctica, people get nervous and they think, gosh, am I in good enough shape? Can I do this? There are luxury cruise lines that are delivering Antarctica like you wouldn't believe. And it is expedition, it is exploration, but it's absolutely in great comfort, and they can help with mobility and all those any issues people have, and they just do a great job.
Because we're with cruise planners, people often assume that that's all we do, and cruising is a big part of our business. It's 55 to 58% of our agency annually. And you come from that side of the business. What's going on with the growth of the cruise industry today?
It is unbelievable. As a former cruise line guy for half my career, there were times again during COVID where I was thinking, gosh, they've gone 500 days with no income. There was no government assistance because of the way they're flagged and the companies are created. They were vilified, right? They were vilified by the government, by others, that they were the reason or they were, whatever it was. And to see the way they've remade their images, to see the money they invested in making sure they were safe and clean and all those things on board, and to now see the way the cruise industry has come back. 2023 was the best year in the history of cruise. 2024 will be even better. You look at, the big public companies are the easy ones. You look at their performance. They're building new ships. They're building new private islands. They're investing left, right, center while they're paying off huge debt that they accumulated during COVID. They're delivering on board, right? And I think, again, if I go back and I could kind of make it about impact travel, because I think it is. You think about those folks who are on board ships, those crew members who were well taken care of by the cruise lines. But look, most of them aren't American, as we know.
Right.
So they weren't getting unemployment and all these different things. They went home to the Philippines, went home to India, went home to these places and waited and waited for the opportunity. And they are so excited about serving our guests. They are, it's amazing to see what they're doing and how they're doing it. And even now, 2 years in, back into this thing, they're still, I think, they found, a pride and an excitement because something was taken away from them and they couldn't wait to get it back. And so cruise has been great.
Along that line, couldn't wait to get it back. I had one of my best friends and a great client for years. He and his wife just got back from their first sailing on Crystal since they have reemerged. And he said, I was blown away. He goes, 90% of the employees came back when Crystal was resurrected.
It's a great story of resurrection. I was on the first cruise back. I went with their owner and their leadership teams, and we had some people on board. And, I've known the owner, the new owner of Crystal, who used to be the old owner of Silver Sea and owns A&K, and he does a great job. And, we were walking through the ship, and he was like a rock star. And it wasn't the customer stopping him. It was the crew. And they were all saying, thank you for bringing back this great brand. Thank you for bringing us back. And I think when they first started back, they were 85%. And I said, and I joked with him, I said, not 100% former crew. And he said, well, some of them are still in contracts with other cruise lines, but they can't wait to get back. Right. He said, so I think we'll be there. And it shows the power of that brand, the way they took care of their people, and really the value of the customers, because the cruise line has to treat people well, but the quality of the customers on Crystal is so good that, folks couldn't wait to get back. They have relationships,
right? Relationships
with customers. There was hugging and crying, and it was really a beautiful thing to witness.
Yeah, he just said it was remarkable that they got that number of people back, and that it was just, he said, I would have thought it was the old Crystal, but my room was 50% bigger than it had been the last time I was on board. So they're doing a lot of things right under Manfredi.
Yeah, Crystal, it's funny. Again, so I was at Regent, at Radisson Seven Seas, and then became Regent, the whole thing. And Crystal was one of our arch rivals, kind of growing up in the business. And I remember when they built Serenity, we kind of held our breath waiting for the plans to come out. And I said to myself, I ran revenue management back then, before I went into sales. And I said, if they build a 700, 800 passenger ship with all suites, we're in trouble. Because they delivered so darn well from a service perspective already. That was what they were known for, right? They were known for their service. We were known for our ships. We had the biggest suites. We had, all these great hardware type things, and they had the software. And I said, if they figure out the hardware, but you remember back then they were owned by the Japanese shipping company. And I think their culture was build the same, be consistent, right? And it's what's done well for them. And they built the same kind of ship with smaller cabins and many more cabins than we had. And I went, there's a real differentiation here. So when Manfredi bought it, owning Silver Sea and understanding the value of bigger suites and that whole thing, he made the adjustment, right? And reduced capacity significantly, making suites bigger and the whole thing. And I really think they've kind of solved it now from both ends. They have great software and great hardware. So I'm excited about their future as well.
Yeah, that was a real win for the whole industry, for them to come back, because they were missed. I had a lot of clients that were very, very brand loyal. Hey, to shift gears here, these last few minutes we have together, you guys have started something called Travel Elevates, and I'm really interested in learning more about that myself, and I'm sure our listeners are as well.
Yeah, so it's our nonprofit. It's focused around impact travel. There's really two kind of paths. So one is, we raise money and we fund great projects and destinations where our guests go. And we focus on two kinds of projects. One is childhood education, which is an easy one and needed everywhere. The other is, sustainable women businesses. How do we get them working, especially in some of these, tough countries where we travel to, right? Where the women are undervalued, and how do we get them working and contributing to the family? And so that's half of it. The other half is, how do we make what our partners do accessible to our customers? How do we make it easy for you, the travel advisor, Rodney, to say, hey, you're going to be in Cambodia And there's a number of ways to kind of heighten that trip, right? I could take you to a village. We could build a well for $300 in Cambodia. That'll give a village or a school fresh water for 10 plus years, right? Now, as a customer, I might not think, well, gosh, when I go to Cambodia, I want to build a well. I'm not going on a mission trip. But as part of my day, if part of that was I stop and I surprise the family, and this is the well that the Sharpe family built, right? How meaningful is that? I did it with my wife, and the kids came out of class, and the teachers let them, they were throwing water on each other and running through this fresh water. And I looked at the old well, which was like these crazy old, where you lower the bucket and there's crap in the well and garbage and everything else. And now I got this new well where they're pumping it. It's fresh, clean water. The guy who built it was kissing my feet for the opportunity to build it. The kids were enjoying fresh water. And the teachers told me the kids were taking home a bucket of fresh water every day for their house, right? That's impact travel. So how do we just make that accessible? Because the best partners in the world, and we have them, the best partners in the world are looking for ways to get back in their own communities. That's their business. The way you get back in your community, they get back in theirs, right? Those are they're not their customers, they're their workers. A lot of times they're the product, right? You go there to see those folks. So how do they help them? How do they make sure they get the best people working in their hotels or the best tour guides? Well, they serve the community. And so how do they help? I believe if they can help us have our customers serve the community in a small way, there's tremendous value there. And that creates loyalty and connections.
Well, those people are so appreciative. I mean, I just got off a cruise we were all the way down to Barbados, and we were in several countries where they used to have a salt industry or they used to have a sugarcane industry, and their industry today is 80-90% tourism. And they're so appreciative of the tourists who come there. And now you guys are Signature's adding another whole layer. While we're here, let's do something that really benefits them long time. Let's not just pay them for today. Let's show them a way to get things done. Clean water being very important to every human being on the planet. Just some additional value adds that we can bring to those really tertiary world countries.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I mean, I don't care if it's in your local community or when you're traveling. The old adage of you always get more than you give. That's exactly what happens. Yeah. You go there, you give a little bit, you experience a little bit, and you come back, your heart's full. I came back from Africa. Every time I do, a little piece of Africa's in me, right? And I feel like, gosh, we made a difference, and they certainly made a difference on me. And, I don't know, Rodney, I travel, I didn't this time, but I travel a lot with my kids. The question I always ask them, hey, those folks, did they have a lot? No, Dad, they didn't have a lot. Were they smiling? All the time.
All the time.
Right? All the time. And so it's a great life lesson. I as a parent, I want to give my kids everything I didn't have growing up, but I want them to understand the value of money and the value of all these things. And how do you find that balance? And I think it's travel, right? They've seen the worst of the worst, and they see those kids smiling and going to school and doing the rest of it. How do they not get their butts out of bed, right? It makes us better people.
And it does.
That's what travel does.
And it's really the simple things. Every one of our clients that visits Africa, I tell them, I said, that stack of T-shirts that you have that have logos or sayings or stuff on the front of them, maybe they're stacked up in the closet. Maybe you got a full drawer full of them in your dresser. Throw those in your bag. Take them to Africa and give them to the people that you come in contact with. You won't believe the smile on their face when they get a Michael Jordan doing a slam dunk on the front of a T-shirt.
I agree. I'll tell you one other thing I always tell guests, especially if they're traveling with their kids: deflate a soccer ball and bring that in a little hand pump. And when you're walking through a village or you're walking through a thing, pump it up and just start kicking it down the street. It's the common denominator. My kids aren't soccer players, but they become soccer players whenever we're traveling. And all of a sudden, kids who can't communicate, they're not speaking the same language, all of a sudden have a common ground, and they'll do it. And at the end, just go, you keep the ball, right? $10 at Walmart.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes all the difference in the world.
It really does. And you've struck a nerve with me there this morning. We tell our clients all the time. There was a CEO of a global beverage brand that one time in a speech talked about how much more important dreams are than memories. And I said, he had to be really smart to be the CEO of a global beverage company, but he obviously knew nothing about memories, because memories that you're creating with things like soccer balls with your kids, memories are far, far, far more important than dreams in my.
Well, and I think they fuel the dreams, right? I think they fuel them. I think you think about, you come back a little bit more in your heart and you figure out what can I do next, right? Where can I go and have this feeling again? And look, we want to create serial travelers, right? That's what we want. We want people who can't wait to get to the next place, the next experience.
Exactly.
That's what we're in the business for. And, I truly believe, and not to be all kind of kumbaya, but, it makes us better people. When we understand cultures, we understand people, we're more tolerant, we're more understanding, we're more empathetic, all those things. And, God knows the world could use a little more of that right now. So, you're doing the world a great service, Rodney.
I feel
by getting people out and traveling.
I feel that way every day. I spent 30 years in financial services, and I'm having so much more fun in travel than I ever did in financial services. Well, Alex, I could talk to you all day, my friend. It's always interesting. We could make some popcorn and prop our feet up and talk all afternoon long. But my producer's telling me we got to cut this. I truly appreciate you taking time from your busy schedule to be with us. And I just want to remind.
Thanks for the opportunity. Anytime. You're doing great stuff. We're so proud to have you part of our family, our signature family. You guys are just fantastic. So thank you again for the opportunity and what you're doing.
Oh, thank you for being here. And I just remind our viewers one thing. As you go on your way today, enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Bye for now.
All right. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on the Luxury Travelers Podcast. For more information, head on over to luxurytravelerspodcast.com to connect with our team or leave us a message. Until next time, safe travels and savor the extraordinary.